Holy fuckballs in a stick. It is another week. Year has gone by so fast. It's so insane. I swear I'm going to start writing 2019 on my checks already. So let's do this. We still have our sponsors. Nobody's dropped out yet. Nobody's tapped out. Let's start with, what do we want to start with? Shoe Dazzle. ShoeDazzle.com is a subscription shoe whore fantasy. So what it is you pay for a subscription, a monthly subscription, and they send you shoes and accessories a month, and you don't have to go shopping. It comes to your door, and Christmas is coming, so any of your little shoe whores that you have, this is one of the perfect gifts. And because you listen to this, you get a prize. You get a present. If you go on ShoeDazzle.com and use the promo code HAPPYSHOES, HAPPYSHOES, you get $10 off your first subscription. So there you're saving on Christmas presents already. Like, fucking A. Awesome. Handy app. Everybody needs a good handy every once in a while. Handy app is your one-stop shop for anything that you need. All you millennials that don't know how to do anything, use a screwdriver. The screwdriver to you is vodka and orange juice. There's other types of screwdrivers, and Handy app knows how to use them. Handy app you can get from pool cleaning to cleaning of your house to building anything. They're super awesome. And handyapp.com, if you use our promo code AppSave30, which is APPSAVE30, you get 30% off your first booking. So there you go. If you buy something for your kids that you can't fucking build, Handy App will do it, and you get 30% off thanks to Happy Endings. Famous Smoke Shop. Famous Smoke Shop is one of my favorite sponsors, just because it's cigars. It's cigars, and cigars are penis shaped, and we all know I like penis. Famous Smoke Shop, we have 2 discounts for you. One is Hot 20, which is HOT20, and you get $20 off your purchase of $145 or more. Or Hot 10, which is HOT10, you get $10 off a purchase of $85 or more. We also have Dollar Days. Christmas is coming. Stocking stuffers. Dollar Days is awesome. This is a website you will get lost in because they sell everything in bulk, and everybody likes things that are bigger and bulkier. I mean, look at me. And Dollar Days also gave us 2 promo codes, which is Happy Endings 20. HAPPYENDINGS20, and you get $20 off your purchase of $200 or more. Or Happy Ending Ship, which is HAPPYENDINGSSHIP, and you get a flat shipping rate of $9.95. And last but not least, Blue Apron. Blue Apron was actually one of our first sponsors, so we love them. Blue Apron is awesome. Everything comes to you. All the holidays are coming. We don't have time to shop. Nobody wants to run over the grandma going for the last cranberry can. Fuck that bitch. So Blue Apron brings the shit to you. They go grocery shopping for you, and they put it on your door. This Blue Apron is one of my favorite things ever. And if you go to blueapron.com/happyendings, which is BLUEAPRON.com/HAPPYENDINGS, you get 30% off your first box, which is awesome. Amazing. Okay, so this episode is Cassandra Cass. Cassandra Cass is one of my favorite people ever. I met her at the Comedy Store, and she said I was the first person that was nice to her at the Comedy Store, which is sad, but whatever. This episode just talks about her transitioning from a male into the gorgeous female that she is today. I do want her on the table again because she has so many stories, and I just can't, all the nasty stories, of course, I want to hear. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Cassandra Cass. Fuck that up. Cassandra Cass. Crazy shit. All right.
Should we start it, because you're going to film it? Should I, be like, hey, or no, or?
We can, if you want to.
Yeah.
We can also...
Because I think visually I look really pretty, right? With the hair and, just I'm so excited. This is, it just builds.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Oh, that's okay. You
Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Just be you. Joy, you're a natural. Seriously.
Yeah. Just
you're so likable. Don't overthink it. Just be you.
I don't know.
He handed it to me last night after his massage.
Well, actually, we need to get a picture, too.
Oh, do you want to do that one first?
Yeah, before I get hammered.
Okay.
Take one with mine, too.
Okay.
Because, you know, I airbrush it and make sure it looks like really...
Okay.
And then Joey's just like, let's do it.
All right. You're going to have to hand me hers. Oh, that's selfie mode.
Oh, my God. Is this what we do?
This is what we do.
Hold on. Is it attractive?
Yes, you're damn adorable. Remove that. Look at your face. 1, 2, 3.
Should I do a crazy one? Hold on.
I don't want the flash on. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Why is the flash on, man? Stop.
That seems so weird.
Okay, ready? One more.
Okay.
Oh, wait. No, go back up again. Okay, now go back down.
You should do like a little video of it.
Okay.
Like a little
Like
Okay,
a boomerang?
Do a boomerang.
Okay.
Tell me when.
Okay. Where are you? There you are. Okay, hold on. Okay, and where's your Instagram? There's your Instagram. Okay, ready? We're gonna do boomerang. Ready?
Okay.
Go.
That's what a blowjob looks like. Okay.
We're doing
We're
VR.
gonna do another
Okay,
one.
tell me what.
Okay, ready?
Mhm.
Go.
There's something so wrong about that.
That is.
Let me see.
That was better.
That's like a blowjob. I love it. Okay, let me
Okay.
see. Oh, you did that all with mine.
I did
Oh,
that.
okay. They're like, what the hell is going on?
Okay.
Now let's get, I want to get a picture of you standing beside me, Joy, like on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get my boobs. Or, yeah, like you could actually pretend like you're massaging, you know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
it's just kind of just for fake. Is that cute?
One
yeah.
second.
And then do it sideways too, because then it can get the length.
Oh, one more?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm crazy. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Okay, let me see it. And then I'll shut up and let you do your job. See that? Oh my God. That's so seedy. I love it. It's so like, what is she doing? Okay. What do I
Okay.
do? Should I put my hair up?
Yes.
Can you hand me that clean up?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Put it off that way. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want me to put anything on her so I don't get makeup on it?
No, because they go straight to the washer.
Okay.
No, I've had many faces left on that.
Okay, what do I do with my...
There you go. Just get comfortable.
Okay. And by the way, you can always... Oh, you're filming that. Okay, cool.
Yes. And we're recording it.
Okay, cool.
So this is going on the podcast. This is us starting.
Should we start and I go, hi, everybody, I'm Cassandra.
Yes.
Get undressed, get under the sheets. Ooh, you're in for a treat. No, I promise this is not a dream. It's just a happy ending with Joy Eileen.
So on the table today I have...
Cassandra Cass! I'm so ready.
Dun, dun, dun.
Huh. Okay, head down.
Head down.
Okay.
Comfortable.
Oh, yeah, I'm really comfortable. So comfy.
Oh, I love you. I
Ugh.
love you.
Did I ever tell you I was with this guy who made me give him a massage like 20 minutes before I could even touch his penis?
Ew.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yes.
I
Wouldn't you
know.
think they'd want to go straight for the penis?
Right?
I know. Well, I think he was gay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, we all know.
I met him.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Look at your waist.
I know.
Stupid. Ooh.
Well, I eat at McDonald's all the time.
Of course you do.
So is this the point where I like talk about my story and...
Yes. Well, first of all, have you ever had a massage before?
I have, but not like this, which is kind of phenomenal.
Not in a seedy motel.
No.
Okay. I'm
Thank
going to tell
you
you.
to our sponsor.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you to our sponsor, the Sahara Motor
The
Hotel.
Sahara Motor Lodge.
Yes, Motor Lodge, who is amazing for letting us do this. I've actually never massaged in a motel before, and I'm very excited.
I could be the first.
We had no idea where we were going, and they gave us a home. We're not homeless.
Yeah.
And we appreciate them very, very, very much.
And because I'm from the East Coast, I was like, they gotta be fancy. They have a pool.
They have
So
And we're in the Lucille Ballroom.
I saw that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, all the rooms, well, they're not really themed. They just have faces
They
outside
have-
the doors. But
yes.
Yeah.
When I was walking in here, I actually got offered $20.
Oh.
Yeah, some guy was like, "Hey, after you're done, come to my room."
Oh.
For 20?
20? I know. I'm at least a good 30.
You're all bitches, I won't pay for my McDonald's.
Right.
Yes. So you've had one before.
I have, but it was more. It wasn't like this. I
Okay.
mean, yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So Cassandra Cass and I met almost a year ago.
Right.
It was raining. It was dark and gloomy. It was on Sun. No, I was going to set the stage. Sorry, went into author mode there for a minute. Yes, so we met on Sunset in line for the Kill Tony show.
Mm-hmm.
And you had your calendar, which I'm sure my kids have all jacked off to. Yeah.
Except for Brody, who's still figuring it out.
Yeah, Brody just probably licks his finger and rubs the pages. I don't know what Brody does.
There's something so wrong about that. How old's Brody?
7.
Oh my god. I honestly didn't even, I'm transgender and I didn't even masturbate. I think the first time I ever did, I was 13, But I was in Iowa, so there was a lot of shame associated with it.
Now, did you grow up religious?
I grew up Catholic, but,
Well, Catholic's a good one because after you get in trouble, you just say a couple Hail
Yeah.
Marys and you're good again.
Exactly. I mean, they send us to Sunday school, but my dad was like an alcoholic and a womanizer.
Right.
So it was kind of like confusing because, you go to Sunday school and they're like, oh, be honest, do this. And then you go home and you're like, wait. But what I liked about it was the structure. Like they pick you up at a certain time, because at home there really wasn't any structure. And it kind of taught me, that the key to success is organization and things like that. But I remember in the second grade, the preacher called on me and he's like, he thought I was a little girl because I was very, very like effeminate as a little boy. And I went up there and he was like, oh, so young lady, what do and I was so happy, but then I sat down and that's when everyone started picking on me.
No.
They're like, oh, you're, and you start hearing all these words like, you want to be a girl, or are you gay, are you a fag? And I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
And, I went home to my dad and I said, and I didn't really talk to my dad. I was not close to him. And I was actually quite scared of him. He was very masculine and, and I said, Dad, what's a fag? You can imagine he's like, he just had the most awful look on his face, but didn't describe it, but I knew it wasn't something good.
Right.
Or at least that's what I felt. I don't remember the words. I just remember thinking, ooh, I don't want to be that.
Uh-huh.
But I always knew inside that I wished I would have been like a little girl. So I remember, like at the time Cabbage Patch Dolls were really in and My Little Pony, and I would beg my mother and she would actually buy them for me. And my dad would always be like, you're going to make that kid a fag, So I heard that word again. And so, as I got a little bit older and I was like 8 or 9, my parents got divorced.
Okay.
And I was super happy about that because I thought my dad was just awful. I didn't like him, and I loved my mom. I thought she was, everyone thinks their mother is like Madonna, like just amazing.
Right.
And so they got divorced, and then my mother kind of went batshit crazy. She had been dealing with this narcissistic guy for 15 years, had 4 little boys within 4 years, and she
Damn,
was,
Mom.
yeah, she was so overwhelmed, and she just kind of got addicted to drugs, and then she got like a boyfriend who was like much younger, who just manipulated and used her, and then she ended up disappearing. So it was either going to group homes or going to live with my dad. Yay! So I went to go live with my dad, all of us, and that
And how old were you?
I was like 8, 9
Oh, so
years
it was
old.
like almost right away.
Right away. She didn't last very long.
Okay.
And yeah, because we thought once, they were separated and everything, we thought, oh, yay. She went down quick, and
okay.
yeah, it was rough. But I remember as a kid, like, they came to our house and they repossessed the house. And I had, like, a dog and a cat, and we had to leave our animals there. I mean, it was really, like, really dramatic. And then all our clothes were thrown into a big dumpster. And I remember all of us standing on the corner with trash bags, whatever we could grab, and then my dad picking us up. And yeah, it was just really awful. And then, of course, after that happens, you want your mother. You want someone to comfort you. And my dad was not like that. So, of course, we started all acting out. You know, I would not go to school and, you know, wouldn't really follow the rules. Not that there were any, but I just...
Now, where were you in the 4?
I was number 3.
Number 3, okay.
Yeah, so I was in that weird mix of... But I was always like the little star of the family. You know, they always say the middle child always really tries to overcompensate. And that was me. I was always like, you know, the apple in my mom's eye. I was always the fun one who sung and danced and... You know, I wanted to be a performer.
Right.
But my parents weren't supportive. I mean, my dad, you know, thought it was very gay, and my mother was overwhelmed. So, basically, at that point, my younger brother was sent to a group home, and then I was sent to another group home, which, honestly, from, I think it was 12 to, 12 to 16. I went to a group home, which was the best thing that ever happened because it's structure. It came back to structure again. You know, we would wake up, have to make our beds. You know, people couldn't really pick on you because, you know, they had, staff who would stop that if kids started, you know, messing with you. So I learned about, about myself. And I didn't know I was transgender. I always knew I wanted to be a girl, but I didn't know what transgender was.
Right.
I just felt, and they thought I was gay. Because, you know, everyone, you know, if you're a boy and you're feminine, you're gay. They didn't really understand it. This was like the 90s, you know? Or people just weren't aware. Or they didn't want to be aware, really. So I remember we'd have to go to therapy in the group home, and I remember I had a female therapist, and they said, oh, no, we're going to change your therapist to a male. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you need a good male role model. I mean, it was just like,
oh my God.
I know, it's stupid, right?
Eye roll, yes.
Yeah, so, and then they gave me a book about, like, this is ridiculous. They gave me a book about what is a feminine role model and a male role model.
Was it
like,
by Mike Pence?
I can't even remember, but it was so like basically saying this is how a boy should act. And I was like, God, this is insane. And then I remember I got out of the group home and I went back to live with my dad.
Okay. And
I was watching TV with my older brother, and Tula came on, who is Carolyn Cossie. She was the famous Bond girl, who was she was the first transsexual in Playboy. And she was on Maury Povich, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I want. That's who I am. You know, and I found out later, we're actually friends now, but I found out that we both have the same birthday, you know, August 31st. It was just weird, but, you know, we were, you know, a couple, like, you know, a good 20-some years apart, but she was stunning, you know, from England, and some of the listeners might know who she is.
Right.
Carolyn Cossie. But long story short, I told my brother, I'm like, that's what I want to be. And he was like, oh, well, she's a woman, you know, like, and I thought, oh, wow, he accepts her, you know. But then I realized later in life, people might accept people until it comes to one of theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's okay, they're gay, until it's like, you're the one, or you're the transsexual sister. So then I went and I told my dad, I said, because I'm a go-getter. I don't wait around. Once I knew, you know, what I wanted to be, I was like, okay, I want to be this.
Right.
And I said, Dad, I came home and I said, listen, I really want to live my life as a woman. And he was reading the paper, and he lowers the paper, and I remember this. I'll never forget this. He lowered the paper, and he looked at me, and he said, who is ever going to want to be with that? And who is ever going to love you? And keep in mind, this is my father. So you're thinking like, holy shit, I just opened up to him and he's telling me that no one's ever going to love me.
And where's Mom?
Mom had disappeared.
Okay.
She had, you know, went on her drug binge. She had disappeared. I didn't know where she was. So I felt abandoned by her. I felt completely misunderstood by my father, who told me no one was ever going to love me. So you can imagine. So I was confused, and so I took an overdose of pills. But I didn't want to die. I wanted to be heard. So I actually called the ambulance. You know, I just took it to kind of like freak them out, you know, to wake them up. And I remember the look in my older brother's eyes that he actually, I could tell he was scared. you know, like maybe I was going to die or something. And I remember the ambulance came, and I had really long hair at the time because I was growing it out. And they thought I was a woman. You know, they're like, oh, miss. And I'm like, no, that's the whole problem. You know, I'm trying to be me and nobody supports me. So at this point, after I got out of the hospital, they pumped my stomach. They put me in like, you know, they put you in like a little mental institution. Because, of course, you got to be crazy. Because, you know, not looking at the problem, which is maybe you're not being heard. Maybe you're misunderstood. But anyways, that was another, honestly, every place other than home was the best thing for me. And when I was in there, you know, they had therapists, and I got to learn about stuff, and, you know, and then I got out, and I was like 17, and I had to, see, I was held back in school when I was like in kindergarten because I was really young. And then in second grade, I had ADD. So I just had a really hard time, like, focusing. I've always been a really creative person, but it's really hard for me to, like, focus on, like, paperwork and...
That's how my middle is.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I learned later in life. It doesn't mean you're stupid.
No.
But, you know, then I thought, oh, my God, I'm dumb, and didn't realize I had other gifts.
Right.
So at that point, you know, I went to school, high school, and, of course, that was a nightmare. You know, oh, God, yeah. Kids were like just horrible. I mean, they would kick me. I was spit on. You know, I try not to even think about this now, you know, because it's like, ugh, it's just so depressing.
Right, you almost remove yourself from it.
I had to.
That's not my past. That's how I feel about my ex, because it was so abusive that I'm like, it can't be me.
That wasn't you.
Yeah. No, I completely, well, I mean, obviously not to your extent.
No, but
I get it, yes.
But Joy, that also primes us to be abused, because we have this ability to almost like be abused and then almost put it aside, which allows the abuser to come back again.
Yes. Almost
like we restart. And I learned as an adult, I've been loved. I have been in a very healthy relationship, but I've also been abused by, you know, some men. And I was always like thinking like, why? And then I realized that sometimes my strength and my ability to put things away works against me. You know, because they could treat me like shit, and then I don't talk to them for a month, and then I feel better, my confidence is back, and you kind of put it away. And you're like, oh, let's start over.
Right.
But they don't change.
No, they don't.
So, long story short is, you know, I dropped out of school and I went to work. You know, I got like jobs at fast food and you know, started living on my own, which was very exciting, very scary, but also very exciting.
Right. And
of course, I gravitated towards the gay scene because, you know, they were people who were fun and creative and accepting.
Yes.
And, you know, I started becoming a performer. I started out doing drag. And I was pretty good at it. You know, I loved to perform, and they seemed to enjoy what I was doing. And then from that, I remember I was working, and they would always have out-of-town performers come in. And there was this beautiful, like, I guess, transgender woman. And I'd never seen one in person at the time. And her name was Mimi Marks. And she was stunning. She was from Chicago. And she was, like, blonde and blue-eyed and everything I wanted to be. Just a bombshell. I'll never forget, she was wearing, like, a blue jean dress. And, you know, in Iowa, that was hot. You know what I mean? Like, it was
she's holding corn.
Yeah, she's holding corn. All American from what, you know, I thought that's what I wanted to be.
Smelled like apple pie.
Apple pie. Which is so funny because all these people I admired 20 years, you know, I'm friends with them now. And I actually recently visited her in Chicago, and she was like, oh my God, I'm so amazed by what you're doing. And it was such a full circle moment.
Right.
You know, to be like, really? I looked up to you, and now you're telling, it's crazy. But, so I decided that I need to get the hell out of Iowa. Because, you know, there was nothing going on, you know, I couldn't really transition. And my mother had come back into my life briefly, and she was dying of cancer. I know, this is like, oh my God.
And how old are you now?
At this point, she came back in like 21, 22, and we reconnected. Like, I love my mother, you know, and I basically was very angry at her. I couldn't understand why she would leave. And I understand now, you know, a good 20 years later, but in my early 20s, I still was full of anger. But I was there for her. My other brothers would not even talk to her. I would, take her grocery shopping. She was on like an oxygen tank. I would, bathe her. It was like, a full circle moment. But anyway, she died. And that was really traumatic. But it also taught me that life is short. And I decided, okay, I need to start living my life as Cassandra. And my mother's name was Sandra.
Right.
And my name originally was Casey, which, Cassandra was just a natural transgression towards that. Okay. And I also love like Greek mythology, goddesses, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And
of course she would look at the camera.
Right. I just believe, let's be real, this is just a body. Like it is. I kind of look at it like Miss Potato Head. You can add parts, take away parts, but what is important to me and always has been my heart.
Yes.
It's always been about really trying to put joy into the world, literally joy.
I'm here.
Because I've experienced so much pain and rejection, and I didn't want to facilitate that. I didn't want to be someone to be like that.
And we all know in the middle of potatoes is some of the most delicious stuff you will ever taste.
And yeah,
that girl thinking.
And you fry it. I just buy potatoes and I'll cut them up and bake them. Uh-huh. Like little like potato like French fries because they're good. But anyways, so at that point, I decided that I wanted to move to Florida because that's where all the like most beautiful transgender women were from at the time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So my best friend, he was a kindergarten teacher. His name was Joe, and he's like, "Listen, I'll move down for the summer with you." Yeah, right. And he's still my friend. I mean, 20 plus. You would love him when he comes out. I'll introduce you.
Okay.
So he and me, basically, I packed everything up in the car. I threw away all my boy clothes, and I decided I'm going to start living as Cassandra. And
so no surgeries?
No surgeries, just hormones. So
okay.
I had maybe a little A-cup boobie, but I mean, what you see before you now is probably like $300,000 worth of cosmetic work. And what I try to...
I said worth it.
Thank you. But what I tell people is, I was always like a pretty boy, but if you give the most beautiful girl like testosterone, it's going to ruin her. It changes skin, it makes things bigger. You got a lot of people don't understand how powerful hormones are.
No, yes.
Yeah, so
yes.
I mean, people who do testosterone or steroids or stuff like that kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to Florida, and I moved down there, and I thought, I'm Cassandra, life's going to be great. No. I started, there's a lot of transphobia. Like, I could not get a job. I would go around, I would apply to everywhere. I applied to McDonald's. People would not hire me because I wasn't passable, which means, it was very obvious that I was obviously a boy and trying to live my life as a girl. And I just saw the most hateful side of people. I would walk into places and they would just burst out laughing and, just in my face, like I wasn't even a human being. And I'm such a tender heart. I just was couldn't understand it, but,
well, anybody, if you walk in somewhere and they burst out laughing, it's just like, ew.
It's just not even good manners, but for some reason they felt that it was okay. This was, once again, before the trans movement and education. There's still ignorance, but it was insane. So I remember I was walking through Nordstrom, and I was going in the mall, and this gay guy, thank God for the gay boys, came up to me, and he's like, "Oh, you're so pretty." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Well, I need a job." You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I have a friend who's hiring. Why don't you fill out an application?" And it was a place called Trade Secret. Once again, a secret, always. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was like a hair care place. And so I filled out the application, went in there, and gave it to the guy. And I thought ooh, God, aren't I really tense?
You are really tense.
Ugh. Oh my God.
Your shoulders aren't even
Oh my God. So, I went in there and filled out this application. I thought I had the job. And he's like, "Oh no, thank you for, applying." Ew. So I thought, I was pissed. And, I was a very pretty woman. I was kind of street smart, and my emotions got the best of me.
Oh, did you walk in and be like, big mistake?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, mm-hmm. So I walked in, and I grabbed the application out of his hand, and I ripped it up. I crumbled it up and ripped it up. And he said, threw it in the trash. I said, well, thanks for nothing, and walked out. So long story short is my friend who had got me, you know, like the application, calls me and says, Cassandra, go back in there. I went back in there, and the guy was gay, and he said, listen, you have the job. Can you believe that? Like, he saw, like, he wanted to help me. I mean, I could almost cry. Because I think beneath, like, the attitude he saw, that just someone wanted to be given a chance.
Right, you just needed a start.
I just needed a chance.
Yes.
I didn't want to, you know, and prostitution was so prevalent in the, you know, transgender community because, you know, you couldn't get a job and, you know, people wouldn't hire you and you're like, how am I going to make money? And not to be rude, but there's all these, like, really deviant, predatory guys out there. And,
oh, yeah.
you know, that's why, for me, I've never been a big fan of prostitution because I don't like the ideal of being able to buy someone, you know? But I also understand how some people are put in positions that they feel they have no other way.
Right.
I just wish we lived in a society that wasn't the case.
I agree.
So long story short is, I got the job.
Yay.
And I was a receptionist, and you know, it was funny because I'm working around, you know, hair care and beauty, and it's just really funny. So I'm learning how to become my authentic self. I'm learning about makeup. I'm learning how I should dress. And but people would still come in and they, you know, could tell, you know, that I started out, you know, as a different gender.
Right.
And they were, people were just so mean. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I don't want to honeycoat it. I mean, people would come up, and I remember this lady, she had a Louis Vuitton purse, and she slams it down on the counter, and she's like, has anyone ever told you that you sound like a man? Just out of the blue. And I said, well, yes, they have, because I am one. You know, I always had a little bit of attitude, but then I would go in the back and cry, you know,
right.
when she left, and I was like, God damn it. And as I got older, now that I'm older, I'm like, wow, I know better now. When someone tries to make fun, I realize that they're just miserable.
And they're jealous.
They're jealous, or they're just wanting, I mean, because I see people, you know, who maybe aren't in a position that I'm blessed to be in right now, and why would I go out of my way to make them feel like crap?
No.
I just will never understand it. So at that point, I met, I would go to the gay clubs, and there were beautiful transgender women, so I befriended them. You know, if you want to be something, you should surround yourself with them. So just
that's
like,
why I'm around a bunch of pretty people, because it's going to happen, right?
Oh, you are pretty.
You're like...
and comics and stuff, you know. So long story short is, I became friends with a lot of the girls, and I learned about, you know, where they got their surgeries, you know, where you should go, what you should get done, you know, things to soften you.
Uh-huh.
And I remember that I went to this support group because I also didn't want to just be in the party scene. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I might look like a party girl, but I'm not.
Right.
I'm like, so I remember I went to the support group and I met this older guy. His name was Jerry, and he was like 60. And you could tell he wanted to transition, but he felt it was too late in life for him. And I was, you know, in my early 20s, and he just really, like, became enamored with me. He thought I was super funny and, you know, always wanted to be around me and took me out, and he would take me shopping. And I remember, you know, he tried to make a move, and I was like, Jerry, I don't feel that way about you. Mm-hmm. You know, that's just not how I feel. And he's like, no, it's okay. But then, you know, I knew I needed a nose job and needed some work, and he offered to pay for it. And I was like, oh, okay. But I remember I went and got it done.
So the nose was the first?
The first. The first surgery was my nose. And I got my Adam's apple done, and that was the first. And I remember coming out, and it was like Pretty Woman. Jerry was pretty well off. He was like a pharmaceutical representative or something. And I remember he really loved me. He really did. But I just, you know, I mean, I just didn't feel that way about him. But I was always very clear. You know, I didn't, you know, have sex with him or even try any of that. But I remember he tried, like, my face was all bandaged up, and he had rented this, like, beautiful suite. You know, it had, like, you know, flowers.
Was it at the Sahara Motel?
The Sahara Motel. No, it was honestly, it was like Pretty Woman. I mean, I've always loved that movie, and he just didn't look like Richard Gere.
He didn't have a gerbil up his ass.
No, he did not. So at this point, oh, I love it. So, at this point, he, tried to make a move on me, and I'm like, Jerry, I don't feel that way.
Oh, he was trying because you were all drugged up.
Yes, I was. Yes.
Bow wow.
Like, I mean, come on. I remember he was reaching for my crotch, and I'm like, my nose is all bandaged up, and I'm like,
and your crotch is still a boy's crotch.
It's still a boy's crotch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it was just really, really like, I told him, and then I decided that I wanted to move to LA. I've always wanted to move to Hollywood. Always. Hollywood. I just didn't know how to get there. And I didn't want to come to Hollywood until I was ready. Until I felt I looked the way I wanted to. Even though I didn't feel I looked the way I wanted to at the time, I thought I did. I thought, I had my nose job and now I can go take over Hollywood. Yeah, right. So, Jerry was like, well, I would like to get you an apartment, and put me up. Very pretty woman, like when I was a little kid, I, dreamed of a, that whole thing, riding in on his horse, and he didn't say, hey, I'll put you up in an apartment.
What was that movie, or what was that song? Fancy.
Fancy, don't let me down.
No, Dolly Parton, right?
Or
Reba. Okay, damn it, I had it right the first time. I'm so going to edit that so it sounds like I had it right the first time.
Nope, it's on the video.
I know, right?
I know, I keep making stupid moves and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm being recorded.
No, you're being...
Because you guys are face down. You have no idea the stupid shit I do. Yeah.
I enjoy the occasional booty tooch that you do.
What does she do?
She's just she tries to get leverage and then she just tucks her bum up.
Oh, I love
that.
Like
a little duck.
So at this point, oh my God, this is totally like what I did to that former boyfriend. Like giving him a massage, it was so much work. It was so much work just to get some dick. Like, I went through all this, and now I still got to give a massage to get some dick. Okay, so anyway.
Emily and I know about trying to get dick, because John's still out to sea, and Emily's has been gone for 10 months now?
9.
9 months?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Donald Trump. We really love immigration.
But you know what's funny for me? It hasn't really been about the dick. It's just a lot of the guys I've been with have been emotionally unavailable. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of women are... The way you feel close is through sex. Sometimes. Like, that's the closest, Uh-huh. But that also is when you're probably with the wrong guy. Yeah. So, long story short is... there was this transgender, and her name was Marilyn, of course. Everyone...
Aww.
Yeah, she wanted to be Marilyn Monroe, except she was like... Oh. Yeah, right. No, she kind of was rough. I mean, she was 40-something, then she was 6'4". And when she went to get her nails done, they charged her double because her hands were so big. No, I'm just joking. But we were going to move. She was going to move to San Francisco. So she was like, let's move to San Francisco. And I said, okay, that's California. That's not Hollywood, but that's closer than Florida. So long story short is she ended up flaking out on me. And I'd given up my apartment. I'd given up everything. Because I stayed with her for a month because we were prepping to move. So at this point, I'm like, what am I going to do? I'd given up my job. So I had to call my dad. And I called my dad and I'm like, look, I don't know what to do. He's like, you can come home. So I came home and my dad, when my dad saw me, he's like, wow, you're really pretty. I'm like, thank you. So I went back to performing in the bars to save money in Iowa. Uh-huh. And then I needed a job. So I had a bunch of gay friends. But of course there's still a lot of transphobia. This guy was like, oh, I can give you a job at the Holiday Inn. Not the Sahara. But he said, you can't work the front counter because we can't have you with the customers. Yeah, yucky, right? Real shitty. That made me feel good. But anyways, he gave me a job and I was a maid. And so I would come in, and I like to, in my head, I thought, I'm Cinderfella. Uh-huh. That's what I dream. And I'll tell you, the hardest job I've ever had was being a maid. Mm-hmm. It is such hard work. People are pigs, but I did it. I saved money. And then I met another transgender girl, and she wanted to move to California. So for a year, I worked really hard, and I had an 89 Oldsmobile, a really old piece of shit car. So I drove my car, she drove hers, and we moved. She knew someone in San Francisco. So once again, I was like, well, it's not Hollywood, but, it's closer. Uh-huh. So I drove, and I had my car was so old, it only had a cassette player,
My
cassette
first
tape.
car was an 89 T-Bird.
Yeah. Right. So I listened to Madonna's Causing a Commotion the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking I was, going to cause a commotion and take over the city. I come in and we were supposed to stay with her friend. And once we got in town, her friend is like, oh, no, you guys can't stay here. So we're like, what are we going to do? So there was a genetic woman who was there, and she's like, well, you can stay with me. And, so we thought, okay, well, we'll sleep on her living room floor. Come to find out later, she's a meth head and a prostitute. And, I was like, fuck. So
welcome to California.
Welcome to California, baby. And so after that, it was funny because there was this transgender bar in the Tenderloin, which is in San Francisco, which is kind of like a very seedy neighborhood called
the Tenderloin.
The Tenderloin. And it's called the Tenderloin because they usually have a bunch of drug addicts and prostitutes just walking the streets. And keep in mind, I'm from Iowa, so I had not been around that. I was so naive. I was just like, hi, good morning. Are you working out today? It's like, honey, I'm trying to get some money,
See, that's funny, though, because, when people are like, I'm from Iowa, I feel like when people think that we grow up in California, our first grade, we have lessons on meth heads and prostitutes.
I do.
Because I had no idea either.
Oh.
And then, it's funny because people are like, I'm from Iowa. I'm like, I'm from California, and I still had no idea the person that was super skinny was because she was doing crystal meth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know her diet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so at this point, I, go to this transgender bar, and I've always been a pretty good performer. I'd make my own costumes
which are beautiful.
Thank you. So, but that's where I would put my pain, because let's keep it real. Life can be mean and evil. So I would make beautiful things because they would make me happy.
I love that sentence. That's where I put my pain. It's a good sentence.
Completely. So at this point, I won a talent night at the bar. I performed, I won. And then the bartender was like, what's your name? I'm like, I'm Cassandra. I said, I really need a job. I didn't hide. I was like, I need a job. And she's like, well, have you ever bartended before? I said, no, but I would, be gladly learn. It's like, okay, we have a shift that starts at 6 a.m. in the morning to 12. I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And let me tell you, you want to know who comes into a bar at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Sad people.
Sad. I've seen it all. I've seen, drug addicts, prostitutes, just everything. I've seen people having sex in the restroom. But you know what? Which is so crazy, and I don't even understand why. Through it all, I still had this ability to be very childlike. I didn't become bitter. I was always still, kind of naive. And I realized that has been my survival technique, and not to take it all in. I didn't really become friends with the girls. I kept a distance. I would be by myself a lot because I knew that I didn't want to get involved in that world. But I remember I wouldn't date anybody. The guys would ask, would you like to go on it? No. But then this one guy, he came in and he had tattoos. He's rough around the edges. Didn't even like him. That's how it always starts out.
Always.
Just thought ugh, he's a jerk. He looks like a player. And the bar manager is like, why don't you go with him to pick up my dinner? Because he was going to pick it up for her. So I went with him, and honestly, I wasn't attracted to him, but I was kind of promiscuous. So, we ended up doing whatever. And I was just like, ugh, whatever, I'm done. But he did something nice for me. I didn't have a bed, and he gave me his bed. He was moving. And I was done. I thought, because nobody was ever nice to me. So, just for someone to even be somewhat nice, and I just kind of fell right there. Come to find out he was a pimp. Oh my God. And a drug addict, and a liar, and a cheat. So, I proceeded to have 2 years.
Another Reba McEntire song.
2 years of hell with that situation. Because he was my first person that I actually ever really said I love you to.
Oh.
And so I didn't want to give up on him. But he just destroyed me. I allowed him to. I just didn't have the coping skills. Long story short was this couple came in. And it was like this, they were in their 40s and 50s, the woman. And they came in, I was bartending, and I was dressed as Goldilocks. I had a I always would dress up. I've always dressed up and crazy. I love the fantasy of it all. And they came in and we just hit it off. And I found out that they were going through, they'd been married for 20 odd some years, and they were, probably going to get a divorce, and they were trying to reconnect. So they thought, oh, let's reconnect, let's go to a transgender bar. They just walked in and thought, I thought they were swingers.
I was going to ask.
That's what I thought. But I found out later that they just kind of like fell in love with me. I became a really good performer, and I was performing at different places in the city. I worked 3 jobs. I got another job at Asia SF, which was like a transgender show bar, and then I would work every Sunday at Este Noches. So I was supporting myself, and I was doing it honestly. Uh-huh. I wasn't selling my body. I didn't have a sugar daddy or anything like that. Honestly, it was probably one of the happiest times in my life.
Right, because it's fun when you don't have to depend on anyone.
Fun, but then there came a time that I was like lonely, because it was work. And I was, like 27, 28, and I was like, you almost get to a point you're like, I want to be in love. Like you're ready for it. And unfortunately, when you're ready for it, the first person who might not be the best person walks in, and I was like sold. And that was Patrizio, Italian. So,
we gotta get you away from the Italians.
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done with the Italians. The reason I was always drawn to Italian, because the men can be very passionate, and very artistic. And but anyways, long story short, so I became friends with them, and I got on CSI because I was still, working on, acting and trying to get out there. And I got a part on CSI as a showgirl, like a bitchy showgirl. I had 7 lines. It was 100th episode, and at the time, Kate Walsh, who went on to do Private Practice, that she was just breaking out,
okay.
And she was like had a main part in the show, and Marge Helgenberger, and I filmed it, and I thought,
we're flipping you over.
Yeah, yay! Oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna fall asleep.
And scoot down that way.
Down, like there?
A little bit more. That way I can get your shoulders. Perfect. All right.
That is like so opening me up.
Oh wait, you might want to go down a little more. I'm a liar.
Okay.
I'm a liar. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh my God, this like kind of puts you to sleep.
See, I know what I'm doing.
You're great. Oh my God.
Okay, so CSI.
Okay.
Kate
so
Walsh.
I got on CSI, and this was, I think, 2007. So at this point, I thought, wow, I have made it big, because it was the #1 show.
Right.
And I was like, I have 7 lines. I got a SAG card. I was like, okay, get ready, world. I'm going to do it,
Uh-huh.
Well, after that, there were nothing. There were no, I was transgender. Nobody was casting. I mean, I'd walk in and I couldn't even get an agent. Like people just kind of like, no. I remember I went into the top agent in San Francisco, and he said, well, not to be rude, but what are we going to do with a person like you? And I was like, and I had a calendar, because I produced my own calendar, the first one, because people would always want to take a picture. I thought, okay, well, I'm going to sell a calendar.
Oh, yeah.
So long story short, I said, well, what do you see in that calendar? What? Because on the cover, I see a beautiful woman, because I'd had work, and I was really pretty, but they couldn't, they didn't see a place for me. I said, just send me on the auditions. Let me use my personality. Because I knew that I would have to be a little bit of a pioneer. I said, but just let me. They wouldn't represent me. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I heard about this pageant, this transgender beauty pageant, and it was called The World's Most Beautiful Transsexual, and they were going to do it in Las Vegas. So I applied for that, and I decided, okay, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And I rented like a silver, what are those cars, those 300 cars? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like those Chryslers that kind of look like Bentleys?
No.
Anyways, I rented it. I know, right?
Fancy car.
Fancy car.
Okay.
I rented it, and I put pictures of me all over the car. And I had a bunch of friends, and we all drove down there. I had a hairstylist, a design. Because I'm telling you, I'm a go-getter.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I worked, and I had money, and I saved my money. And we went in there, and I didn't know, but they were filming a documentary. And I stood out so much that they said, would you like to be part of the 6 people or 5 people that we're going to follow? I'm like, yeah, sure. So they ended up, following me in the competition, learning my life story, going in my, but anyways, this doc, I didn't win the competition, didn't even get in the top 10 because I fell off the stage. I mean, I was in swimsuit and I had these sandals that were wrapped around like the strings that go all the way up to your knee, and they came off and they wrapped around my.
Oh, no.
I know, but it's
but this makes me happy because it shows that even pretty people fall.
All
and
the
I
time.
love it. Like,
But I got back up.
fuck yeah, you did.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I always has been felt so beautiful about my story. People want to think it's easy, and I'm like, no, it's very Legally Blonde. I've had my heart broken, I've had this, but I refuse to stop,
Right.
So at this point, I didn't get in the top 10, but the documentary ended up coming out on Showtime. And the documentary was the #1 documentary for Showtime that year. They debuted it on Valentine's Day. And from that, I got a lot of exposure. And so the producers from that decided to do a reality show. And they wanted to choose 3 of the people from, and I was one of them. And they chose Maria Roman and Tiara Russell. Maria was Puerto Rican, Tiara was African American, I was the white girl. And it was based on the simple life. So for a month, we traveled around in a Winnebago to small towns, and we worked crazy odd jobs. We worked at a motorcycle shop, we had a bikini car wash. Now keep in mind, this was before Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay.
This was probably 8 years ago, and a lot has changed in 8 years.
Right.
And I remember, I thought, once again, I'm on Showtime, we got our own show, here we are, big world, made it, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Mm-hmm. The show, we filmed 8 episodes, and they put it on at midnight, after the porn hour. Mm. And I remember when we had the big debut in Hollywood, because I lived in San Francisco at the time, and I drove down, and we had it at a club, and Getty Images was supposed to be there. Now I know, because if anyone understands Hollywood, it's all about getting a Getty image. Uh-huh. Getting the great photographers to shoot you, and then it gives you validation or validity, you're a star. And they were supposed to show up, but Showtime said, and I don't care, Showtime, I'm talking. Okay, the people who were in charge at the time said no. And I said, well, why? And they said, well, we look at you as a guilty pleasure. Which basically, they didn't look at us as really someone they wanted to associate with, but they would still put us on at the porn hour. Yeah, and our show was not full of sex, was not full, it was comedy.
It was fun.
It was fun. And it was, it was called Wild Things, and it was really fun. It was really ahead of its time. So after that, nothing happened, and I kind of was like, fudge. So I just went back to performing. And
fudge means fuck, for all you listeners who have no idea what fudge means.
I know. So I got into a relationship, and I met, do you remember the swinger couple?
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. Well, long story short was, I was with that abusive boyfriend. They said, if you leave that boyfriend, we will pay for your SRS, which is, sex change, which, they make the Audi and Indy. And I'm like, well, I'm like, okay, I'm done,
Right.
I mean, I loved him, but I knew he was just awful. And
did you have boobies yet?
I did.
Okay.
I had boobies, I had a nose job, so I was pretty.
Right.
I wasn't over time I got prettier and prettier, whatever, I guess. But, so at that time, I got the SRS. But when you love someone, you don't want to give up on them. Mm-hmm. My biggest issue has been giving up on people. Or quit. Honestly, you know what it is? It's not giving up on people, it's believing in myself, that I deserve better. Mm-hmm. So I stay, and I think a lot of women or people, they stay way too long because they just don't want to believe that this person's a piece of crap. Because when you love someone, you see the best in them.
Right.
So after my change and stuff, the couple who paid for it were good friends, and then the guy, he's like, Cassandra, I'm in love with you.
Of course he is.
Yeah. But we were friends, you know what I mean? We enjoyed hiking, nothing sexual ever happened. And then I said, well, I can't do that. And so I went back and I found that boyfriend. And I thought, okay, now I have the full SRS, I'm in a better position, I can help him. He was into drugs and whatever. On a good note, he did get a job. And he did, go to work. But once trust is broken, you can't go back. Mm-hmm. Every time the phone would ring or something, I was like, who's that?
Right.
And it just, And honestly, he was up to no good. He was just better at hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
They become better.
Right.
And you just become crazy and nuts and miserable. And I started eating and gaining weight. And so a year went by. Sorry. I should probably shut that off.
I don't...
Oh my God, okay. Okay. That's a friend. Not that type of friend. Okay, so long story short is, okay, where am I? Okay, so his name was Mike, and the couple, the guy. And I had never, honestly, because I grew up in an abusive, I didn't know what love was. I didn't know. I didn't know what love was. I didn't understand it. The only thing I knew is that every time I was around Mike, I felt like I could do anything. I felt like I loved the way he looked at me. Not in a sexual way. He looked at me. I remember one time I had a picture and he just stared at me. Just total like awe.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I don't know what love is, but wow. So long story short, as I said to Mike, I said, I'm not going to be your mistress, and I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, I had just come out of a really abusive situation.
Right.
Like, I had bruises all up and down my arms, and I was not in my right frame of mind, and I was desperate. And I literally broke up with Patrizio, and the next day was with Mike.
Yeah.
Which anybody could tell you that that's probably not the healthiest.
Right.
I didn't want to be alone. And I remember his wife calling me, and she's like, Cassandra, how could you? And I'm like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And but when I look back on it, the truth is they were done a long time ago. She was hanging on too. That doesn't make it right.
Right.
My biggest regret is that. In my whole life, my biggest regret is that she had to get hurt. And I didn't understand that because at the time I was like, my later 20s. I don't think I had the empathy that I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I I cry about it. Like, oh my God, what must she have been going through? Can you imagine? Like, your friend and everything. And but I didn't see that then. I thought, well, they're not happy together, and I was so desperate to be taken care of and loved and fixed. But anyway, so me and Mike were together, and it was love. It was. We were together for 9 years. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like it was a booty call.
Right.
And so long story short, we were together for 9 years, and then all the Caitlyn stuff started happening. Caitlyn Jenner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started seeing all these people that I knew. I knew Laverne Cox before she hit it big. We were at the GLAAD Awards night. She was on the cover of Time and Cosmo. And I'm like, wow, good for her, but I want to get, I want a piece of that pie. I've lived this life, but, I was busy making meatloaf, being Mike's wife. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I said I need to move to Hollywood. And our relationship had definitely grown apart. We were still best friends, but the chemistry, the sex,
Mm-hmm.
we were like roommates. And so that's what I'm saying. When you're honest and upfront, that's why we were able to separate, but still not have the drama of it all.
Right.
Like they say, can you be ex-friends with your ex? Yeah, you can if they're a good person, and it ends in a respectful way of communication. We just talked today. We talk every day. So I moved to Hollywood.
How long ago?
3 years ago.
Okay.
And at that point, I actually got a TV show called Strut that was produced by Whoopi Goldberg and another gentleman by the name of Cici Ossioton. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. If he sees this, he'll probably kill me. But that went on to win a GLAAD Award for Best Reality Program last year, which is really a big thing. GLAAD Award is like the Oscars in the gay community.
Uh-huh.
And we were on Oxygen and Bravo. And so I did that, and I've been performing. I got hired by Diamond Dealer, and I got to travel the world and perform and everything. And, but then I got caught up in another really crappy situation once again, with the guy who worked for him, who was, honestly, probably more abusive than anyone I've ever met in my life. Because I realized that abuse can happen in different ways.
Yeah.
Before, with Pat, it was more physical. With this other guy, it was mental.
Right.
And one thing I learned that the worst abuse is mental. Because it makes you question your sanity. it makes you question your worth. I mean, it has been, so, recently, he dumped me. I'm like, which is so crazy because I would not be with him, and then he came to me and said, "Oh, I want to be with you," and I gave him a chance, and then he dumped me.
Right.
It's just really sick and twisted, and so now I'm in the recovery phase of that. And I mean, it's just a day by day thing, and I'm just learning about myself again and being on my own and realizing it's okay to be on your own.
I love that.
And
we're gonna get you back on.
Yes.
And we're gonna find out how you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'll massage you again with your perfect stupid body.
Oh, stop.
Ugh, you're so pretty. And yes, I could talk to you for hours. It sucks that I actually have another massage coming.
Oh
in.
yeah, you're like, shut up.
No, I'm not. No, I'm almost like, can we call and cancel the other one?
No.
But no, I love him too. So yes, we will get you on. Anything you want to plug? Anything?
Yeah. Go. Hold on. Okay. Go to my Instagram page. It's Cassandra21, and you can friend me and just see my journey. I'm working on comedy and getting back another TV show.
Almost.
Yeah, but so yeah. Thank you, Joy.
No, thank
Check out
you.
her Kill Tony.
Yes, and she's on Kill Tony.
Yeah.
And we love her. She's gonna be huge one day, and then we're going to be like, remember, I massaged you and touched you naked.
I'm huge now.
You are huge now.
Love
All
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Be relaxed.
What we need to do, though, Joy, is we need to get a little Instagram thing.
Okay.
Because it's too...
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you'd enjoyed it. Cassandra is one of my favorite people. I love her. Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but on YouTube under Happy Endings with Joy Eileen, we actually have some video of me massaging. We have the full video of Cassandra Cass being massaged by me. So if you want to see what it looked like, you can do that. And if you can, guys, subscribe, anything on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, any of them, we would definitely appreciate it. And send us comments or email us at happyending. No, don't email us there. Email us at joyshappyendings@gmail.com because we would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and I hope you guys have a happy ending.